Is the coding apocalypse upon us? With AI advancing at an unprecedented rate and massive layouts of coders announced every week, the question on every programmer's mind is whether their skills will still be relevant in just 5 short years. In this video, we'll confront the unsettling possibility of a world in which coding is no longer a viable career path and explore what you can do to survive the AI takeover. So the first computer was invented during the Second World War, and it was a giant hunk of steel that weighed 100 tons and couldn't even play Pong. Obviously, we've come a long way since then, and now we've got a zillion times more computing power in our pockets. But even back then, people were just speculating about AI, just like we are now. Arthur C. Clarke, the famous science fiction writer, said that trying to figure out what the future holds is discouraging and hazardous as an occupation. But, oh well, we're going to try to figure it out. So Nvidia held the Who Will Shape the Future of AI conference. The highlight of the conference was when Nvidia's CEO, Jensen Huang, got up there and said something mind-blowing.
I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound completely opposite of what people feel. You probably recall over the course of the last 10 years, 15 years, almost everybody who sits on a stage like this would tell you it is vital that your children learn computer science. Everybody should learn how to program. And in fact, it's almost exactly the opposite. It is our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program.
He said right now, every big shot who gets on stage like him tells you to make your kids learn to code. But in 10 to 15 years, Jensen says it's going to be the opposite. Pretty soon, nobody is going to have to learn to code. We're just going to talk to the computer in plain English, and it's going to do the coding itself. Everybody's going to be a programmer without knowing anything about programming. I'll just say right off the bat, I disagree with Jensen on this one. You still need to learn the fundamentals of coding if you want to do anything useful. Nowadays, every teenager thinks he can just ask ChatGPT to make him the next TikTok. Sure, maybe it'll spit out some code, but if you don't understand the logic and the process that it's using, how are you going to troubleshoot? How are you going to improve on it? Good luck with that, right? But there's still a kernel of truth in what Jensen is saying. While most of us mere mortals are still going to need to learn some coding basics, the eggheads behind the scenes of the big AI companies are going to keep improving the interface. Guys like me will keep using apps like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude, and Copilot, while teams of geniuses invisibly tinker away in the background to make the experience feel more and more seamless, more perfect. The chat window is going to feel like it's doing everything, but behind the scenes, there's an army of programmers who are optimizing. And when you read between the lines, Jensen is saying that programming is about to go through a massive transformation. Sam Altman, the CEO at OpenAI, says the same thing. In the future, programming is still going to matter, but it's going to look completely different thanks to AI. But then you've got other experts like Emad Mustaq, the boss at Stability AI.
I think we always have to look at the unchanging versus the inevitable. So an inevitable is 41% of all code on GitHub right now is AI generated. Wow. To 6 months. ChatGPT can pass a GLUE level 3 programmer exam and it will run pretty much on a MacBook or a phone.
And that's this year.
This year, right now.
Yeah.
There are no programmers in 5 years.
If you're a rising star thinking about becoming a code monkey, hearing that programmers are about to go the way of the dodo might make you a little bit hesitant. But hold up, there's a silver lining. Back in the 50s, you needed a PhD to code anything. Now my grandma's running Python. The kids eat, well, that's not, she's not, but she could if she wanted. The easier it gets, the more people jump in. So now with AI assistants, people who couldn't code their way out of a paper bag are suddenly programming. They might be doing it differently than the old school hackers, but the end result is the same, working software programs. I personally use the code assistant in ChatGPT very often. It just gets things done. And, coding isn't my strongest suit, I'll say personally. So even if AI ends up writing 90% of the code in the future, coding is just becoming more accessible to the masses. Now let's take a step back and look at how computers work on the inside. You've got the hardware and you've got the software. The hardware is the physical chips and circuits and whatnot. The software is the code. Translating between them is machine language, basically converting your code into ones and zeros. Working in machine language is nearly impossible for humans, but over time we kept adding layer upon layer of abstraction to make it easier, like higher level programming languages. These new layers let humans talk to computers using simpler instructions. AI coding assistants are the next level of abstraction on top, bridging that gap even more. Right now, we're seeing an explosion of AI coding tools like GitHub, Copilot, Codium AI, AWS, Code Whisperer, Tableau. They're changing the game, but they're still far from perfect. If you use AI to generate code, you know the struggle. It's not spitting out flawless, complex programs the first try, at least not yet. Will AI eventually be able to build software from scratch itself? For sure, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't still learn to code. Think of AI art tools. Artists didn't just drop their brushes and drop their chisels when those came out. They're still painting and drawing and sculpting. And it's the same deal here. AI isn't going to make human programmers obsolete. It's just the next layer of abstraction. So if you think about it, when you're working with an AI chatbot or an AI app, you are in fact programming. It's just the next layer of ease of use up. So no, the real win here is that as we let humans and machines collaborate even more smoothly, programmers who learn to wield AI coding tools masterfully are going to crush it. They'll be crazy productive. The Luddites are still going to be doing everything manually, and they're going to eat their dust. So if you want to stay ahead of the curve, don't be scared of learning to code just because some Nostradamus in a turtleneck says it's AI from here on. Dig in and get your hands dirty, master the fundamentals, then start experimenting with the AI bells and whistles to streamline your work. That's how you future-proof your programming career. The machines are coming for our jobs, whether we like it or not. And you can fight them, or you can saddle up and ride them into the sunset.